Hey, I'm Josh from Group B, and I think the main takeaway for me for this semester in particular from Jenkins readings was that there's still hope for the church today. So often you can look in the culture around us here in America and think that Christianity is dying and the church is dying, but when you look to our brothers and sisters in the southern hemisphere and you look globally, you begin to realize that the church is very much still thriving and that there's still a great and bright future.
Hey, this is Megan Clark. My big takeaway from the class has been the importance of contextualization in ministry. So learning to really take my time when I want to approach another culture or another group of people and to listen to them and see what ways God's already at work, to see what things are already present in that culture that group of people believes is true, and then connecting what they believe to be true to God's truth, connecting their little piece of the story to God's bigger story. That has been really eye-opening for me, and I think has so many implications for future ministry. And so I'm looking forward to being able to put that into practice more.
In this class, one of my biggest takeaways is that God has given each culture what they need to share the gospel. We all understand that every culture is different. Each has its own individual makeup. Some of the things that are different about the cultures are their beliefs, economics and technology, some of their social relationships, and their different ways of learning through oral and print, and the symbols that they use to represent their cultures. Each plays a key part in the makeup of the culture. The word that Dr. Moon used to describe this was epistemology. How do you know what you know? And my answer is you know what you know based on your culture. Another interesting thing is the growth of global Christianity. How in the year 2025 it's projected that the world will be full of non-Hispanic Christians. That's just so amazing to me. I really enjoy getting a better understanding of the term mission. Mission is defined as what God is doing to people to point them towards the kingdom. Our lives need to be Christ-centered, and that means they need to be kingdom-centered. Matthew 6 says, "Seek ye first the kingdom of God, and all these other things will be added unto you." So if we make our lives kingdom-centered, then that is what God calls us to be. We are trying to form what's called a hermeneutical community, which means all are welcome. And that is what missions is all about. Everybody is welcome in spreading the good news of God.
One of my favorite parts about this class has just been to be able to broaden my horizons when it comes to cultural things. I think for me as an American believer that it's very easy for me to have a very narrow lens as far as how I look at Christianity. And this class for me has been a great way for me to exercise that opening of my horizons. One of my favorite books was the Jenkins book, and just learning about Christianity throughout the scope of the world and not just where I live, and looking at the church growing internationally, especially in the East and in the South, and that it is not failing, that it is growing and succeeding very well.
Hello, I'm Sanav Craft, and I bring you greetings from Memphis, Tennessee. I am a part of Group B from Missional Formation. I learned a lot this semester, and I extended and stretched myself much more than I thought possible. I've been in ministry for a couple of years, but even for a seasoned veteran, there is much for me to learn. From Jenkins, I learned that around the world, there are so many different faces and so many different ways to express the gospel. And we here in America can learn a lot from our brothers and our sisters from overseas. I learned that other countries are doing some amazing things and that the gospel is just not here in the United States. And perhaps as we learn more and more from our African brothers and sisters, our Chinese brothers and sisters, our Hispanic brothers and sisters around the globe, that we in America can begin to have a revival and that our numbers can stop the decline but begin to grow once again. And now as missionaries come here on U.S. soil to begin to minister, they're bringing fire and they're bringing power, they're bringing voices in the prophetic, they're bringing words of knowledge, they're bringing so many different ways to express the gospel and learn from the gospel and to know the gospel in deep and meaningful ways, and that now we here in America can learn, expand, and grow.